So I work for Whataburger restaurant. So we're a burger chain that's primarily in the southern United States. So we have about 800 corporate stores, 140 franchise stores across 14 states. Again, most of it's southern US. So I am the financial planning analysis director. So I've been with the company for 13 years. Started out in audit, did accounting, and then over the last year moved into the planning space. And that's where I got introduced to Previdary. Like I mentioned, I just moved into the role a year ago. So we were already using Previdary, but the one thing that I've seen where they add value is historically, and actually probably within the last year, we really started to rely on Previdary. Historically, it was really just looking more at a trend. And that was kind of how we would plan, is look at our trend at our restaurants and assume that's going to be the growth we're going to have for the next 3 to 6 months. With Previdary now, we're able to look at those specific forecasts and really rely on the year-over-year growth using those macroeconomic indicators. And that's really what we liked, because again, we would just use trend, but it doesn't tell us what's going on in certain sectors and certain parts of the country that can impact our sales, right? Like oil and gas has a big influence on our performance in Houston, right? So that's a good thing that we can look at, and some of the indicators we can rely on. The old trend model, that wasn't really getting us there. The team does a really good job of just communicating and guiding us, right? We use a self-service model. So we have a team that builds models internally using Previdary, but the team's been fantastic about what models to use and what indicators have the highest correlation with our sales. And so yeah, definitely feel like we're more educated when we're talking about our forecasts. So there's a lot more confidence in the data. As I mentioned earlier, we not only rely on Previdary, we look at other models as well. But when we do the look back to see, okay, how did we perform? How close were the models to where we came, where actuals came in? Previdary has always been the closest. So it helps us build the confidence in the models. And so again, historically, the business was always using a trend. And for years, we were using Previdary, but it was more just we would use the trend model, but then look at Previdary to see, okay, is it directionally correct? But we really weren't embracing the Previdary forecast. Over the last year, now that we've been able to show that the Previdary models are accurate and that they do a good job of predicting where we're going to go, or at least getting us there directionally, now we fully embrace Previdary as our base model, and then we layer on some adjustments on top of that. But now Previdary's forecast is really how we start off our planning process. The models that we create are looking at specific markets, so looking at all our stores, all our sales in a market, tying it to an indicator. So again, Previdary will tell us year over year how we're going to perform in that market, and then we'll build the models or the plans down to the unit level. But then Previdary, again, that's more macroeconomic, right? It doesn't know if there's a road construction across the store, if a Chick-fil-A opened next door, or if a Chick's closing for 4 months to remodel, so there's some upside. And so we'll start with the base, and then we work with our operations teams, right? The individual stores and their leadership team to refine those plans, right? Because they're gonna know what's going on in their specific community and that specific location that the Previdary model's not gonna know. So it's kind of a partnership, but again, it's the base, right? And then the other thing we also do that I left off is, we're continuing to grow at Whataburger. And so as we build more stores, it starts to have cannibalization impact on our existing stores. So Previdary doesn't know that. So we have an internal model that's created to forecast what the impact of cannibalization is going to be into certain restaurants. So then that's another thing we'll layer in on top of the Previdary model. But again, at the end of the day, now in the last year, really Previdary has been the starting point for us. First is have good data, right? That's critical, right? Because if and I think in the past there wasn't a lot of data. Now, people mentioned it in the advisory meeting earlier. There's so much data out there, right? So know what data you want to use. Make sure it's good quality data, and then also don't just trust the models that you have, right? Look back, check on them periodically, see how accurate they are. But always go back and look and see if there's ways to refine the models to enhance them.